Hi there. This week, we're going to be talking about climate change and how to calculate your own carbon footprint. Climate change is regularly referenced as the biggest challenge of our era. At its most basic, climate change describes the ongoing man-made warming to our atmosphere, caused primarily by the emissions we generate from everyday activities. These climatic changes will see a gradual increase in the frequency and severity of natural phenomena, such as extreme weather, wildfire, droughts, and disease, to name but a few, whilst also forcing us to take difficult decisions as a society to minimise the impacts of a transition to a more sustainable world. To help minimise the impacts of climate change, in Paris 2015, at the Conference of Parties, also known as COP, the United Nations body dedicated to climate change, 196 different countries agreed that they would hold the increase in global average temperature to well below 2 degrees and pursue efforts to limit the temperature increase to 1.5 degrees when comparing it with pre-industrial levels. In this case, pre-industrial levels refers to somewhere between the year 1815 and 1900. Meeting this target is scientifically important, as crossing the 1.5 degrees line will see an exponential difference in the severity of climate change we experience, as the Earth's natural systems start to break down, creating unintended and sometimes unforeseeable consequences. As an example, when comparing 1.5 degrees with 2 degrees, crop yields will be 2.3 times worse, and coral reef decline can be up to 29 times worse. This is a big deal, so what can we do? How can we make sure that our business is ready to transition to a low-carbon economy and acts responsibly by reducing the volume of emissions it produces? Well, the very first step for most companies is to measure and report their carbon emissions. And it pains me to say it, but it's very, very true. But you can't manage what you don't measure. Take my exorbitant consumption of bagels, for example. If I started to count the amount I was eating, I can almost guarantee I'd do something about it. The same goes for carbon emissions. The best place to start this journey is by reviewing two key documents. The WRI GHG Protocol's corporate standard, still the go-to industry guidance for reporting carbon emissions, and I'd also recommend taking a look at the UK government's most recent greenhouse gas emissions conversion factors. The corporate standard will help you understand the principles and accepted approach to reporting carbon emissions, whilst the conversion factors will help illustrate how you can turn your company data into an annual carbon figure. But the core steps are as follows. 1. Set your reporting boundary. Assess how you will decide where your reporting scope starts and ends. 2. Screening carbon emitting activities. Review which carbon emitting activities are likely to take place within your organisation. 3. Collecting carbon emissions data. Collect data such as the amount of electricity you use or the amount of fuel consumed in accordance with your reporting scope. 4. Assess data quality and estimations. Make some note of whether this data is accurate or whether estimations were required. 5. Carrying out the emissions calculations. Using the correct emissions factors, convert your raw company data into carbon emissions. And that's it. You're well on your way to calculating your first carbon footprint and mitigating your impact on climate change. We'll be revisiting each of these steps in more detail in the future. But in the meantime, if you've got any questions, suggestions, or feedback, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Thank you.